Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. For our annual awards show, we are going to be doing all the categories in one. We have Best GC Rider, Best Sprinter. They're the two main categories we have. Does Classics Rider and Puncheur, do those categories even exist anymore? We have Best Baradeur, which I don't think we've done before. Maybe that's replaced the Puncheur category. Best Domestique, Best Race of the Year, Breakthrough Riders of the Year, and Funniest Moments of the Year. This is for the men. We'll also have a women's awards as well separately. And for some reason, Benji at the end of the notes has something about Jakub Mareczko.
I don't know why it ended up in the notes. I just unconsciously wrote down Mareczko retired ? But I think he has retired, but I don't think that's a topic we need to discuss in these cycling awards. But before we jump into these awards, it's important to note that there's been a bit of news in the sport of cycling in the last couple of days. Or Lascano having an adverse analytical finding in his biological passport, Jaco being on the brink or having been on the brink of potentially being in financial trouble over the last week. We're going to discuss those topics in depthly in the weekly show that we'll record early next week on roughly Tuesday. Not sure what day will come out. Probably same or day after, right?
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday, that should be out. And then, yeah, but otherwise we'll get into the awards and we'll save the news for then. I think what's your overall impression of the season without going back and looking at every race result, looking at data, looking at...
Well, I did. I made the notes for the cycling award show.
I haven't.
You're the one that needs to give the stake.
My overall impression is an increasing lack of diversification in winners. Yeah. That's even now in the Pro Series. Like, I'm looking through the Pro Series races and it's confirming what I'm thinking, but it's like UAE, Visma, UAE, Alpecin, like that sort of vibe, with the exception being Delhi at the back end of the season. So...
Random question. Do you think the addition of development teams for World Tour teams, basically extending the roster of World Tour teams, is allowing for teams to be more dominant in those pro teams races? Or is it just a factor of the bigger teams becoming so super team oriented that they can afford to focus on both World Tour and pro level races?
Oh, I definitely think the Devo teams being able to ride using those riders in pro races makes a big difference. I mean, if you look at, say, maybe not Hugo Fabrice is a bad example, but the UAE, look at Gibber Stice
that
on
is
UAE.
I had to mentally translate that from Patricio language to actual Dutch. Gibber Stas.
That's not what his name is.
You made it sound like Gibby, the guy from iCarly.
Stas. They race a lot of pro races, and it allows then, if you have a really good rider and they're in good shape, but you don't have on your World Tour team another 6 good riders in shape, well, you can sort of get to the start list with other riders. So I think that's definitely Visma. We're also doing that with, Brennan did Rundum Köln with the Devo team.
There has to be a limit to that at some point. Like, it's a bit extreme,
19.
No? Yeah, but
at the start of the season, it looked reasonable.
Yeah, but once you start winning multiple World Tour stages, then it starts to become a bit more unreasonable. But I think we should jump into our first category because there's a lot on the menu today. And Best GC Rider is our first category. And I think it's pretty clear that the number one is slightly obvious. We'll go over the results of the riders that are potentially nominees for these categories. But let's start off with the big one, of course. Tadej Pogacar won the UAE Tour, took 2 stages, won the Dauphiné, took 3 stages, if I recall, including that first stage, which was actually really explosive. Super nice final. First at the Tour de France, of course, won the yellow jersey and 4 stage victories. Outside of that, most of his calendar outside of that is one-day races, I'm pretty sure. I think that's his 3 stage races that he rode this year. He won them and he won the stages in them. So dominant performance with every race that he showed up at. The only moment of weakness across those 3 races is perhaps the Dauphiné time trial, but it's hard to not conclude that Tadej Pogacar is the best GC rider, eh?
Yeah, Pogacar clearly the best GC rider in the world, especially because he did do 2 World Tour 1 weeks, which actually I don't remember the last time he did 2 World Tour 1 weeks in a season.
You're right. Sometimes Slovenia, sometimes skipping June all throughout.
He didn't do the Dauphiné before since 2020. I think 2020 he did the Dauphiné before he won the Tour de France for the first time. So Pogacar, unanimous number 1. I don't think we need any debate there. Vingegaard, I think, is also a pretty clear number 2. He's second in the Tour. He's second in the Tour to Pogacar, well above Lipovic. Where Almeida would have been if he didn't crash out, we don't know. But we did have the Vuelta afterwards, where Vingegaard did beat Almeida. If that was reversed, maybe you have more of a debate. But because he's second at the Tour, first the Vuelta, second Dauphiné, to me also second's pretty clear cut.
I think so as well. Now, there's one area where Almeida does show up where Vingegaard was a little bit weaker, which was in the 1 week races throughout the year. And that's partially because Vingegaard had concussion at Paris and then lost from Pogacar at the Dauphiné. And Almeida was mostly doing races where Pogacar was not present because it's his teammate. And we see then, when it comes to Almeida's schedule throughout the year and his results, that he starts off with, I think it was Algarve, where he ended up winning a stage against Vingegaard, but it's really in Paris that he does that again, winning a stage, but gets 16 GC there. So that was maybe his weaker 1 week race in World Tour this year. But then the wins start coming. To the Swiss win, plus 2 stage wins. To the Romandy, GC victory at Itzulia. So he won 3 1 week races this year, 5 World Tour stage races outside of Grand Tours, plus second at La Vuelta. And I'd say 1.5 stage wins, because the half one is referencing to the team time trial of UAE. And he only has 1 individual stage win himself. But Joao Almeida is a potential candidate for the podium on our list here. But would
He's
you
my
say
clear-cut
Simon
third
Yates?
as well.
Oh. Why not a winner of the Giro, Simon Yates? How do you value second at the Vuelta plus 3 1 week stage races versus just winning the Giro?
Because he also crashed out of the Tour.
Yeah.
So that was a main goal. Maybe he comes third at the Tour. I mean, not crashing is also a skill, but
that's an if, of course, eh?
Despite having one of his main goal of the season crashing out of it, he still won 3 1 weeks. He also, the big difference is he won a lot of stages. In all of these races, he was winning as well, which is a big difference to previous years. 10 World Tour wins for Almeida this year? That's a lot.
I think, roughly, yes.
That's a lot. And also, he gapped. The blemish, I guess, is Algarve.
Yeah, but
right.
Does it matter?
It was against Vingegaard in his home country.
But does the point at which the race come in the season not impact the form that we expect from both those riders? And for me, then I'm like, I don't put much value into the results of preparation races like Algarve for either of these riders, because I'm not expecting these riders to be at their best, and riders also don't have the same run-in towards the goals in their season. So, for example, rider A could have good form 4 weeks before their best result, and another rider like Simon Yates could be absolute dog shit for 4 weeks before his main race of the season. But talk about Simon Yates for a second.
Yates, he third week of the Giro, very, very good, obviously. He was the aggressor on stage 16. And then obviously won on Finestra in spectacular fashion. Also, I would say a blemish-free Giro. There was just no mistake except not being in the wheel of Carapaz the day before Finestra. But
that's not a massive mistake either. That's also a slight limitation physically, I reckon.
No, it's not like the Strata fucking up and losing a minute in the Strata stage or 2 minutes. But the knock on him compared to an Almeida is obviously the rest of the season, where Tour de France he was out of GC on stage 1, and then after the Tour he didn't do anything. So how do you compare that? That's why I have Almeida. Also because Almeida's general level, I think general level across the year as a GC rider was better, and he beat Vingegaard on Angleroo on a mythical climb in very impressive fashion. That also factors into me. So I have Almeida 3.
I honestly kind of just agree with you on all 3 spots. I think Yates was the one where I was like, maybe there's an argument to be made because the Giro is a Grand Tour that we can put these against each other, but Almeida was just more consistent throughout the year. But I do think we need to talk about 4 other names, riders that come to mind to me as riders that I maybe some of them expected to compete for this podium versus some of them might compete for them in the future. Let's start with Remco Evenepoel, DNF'd at the Tour de France, 4th at Dauphiné, 5th at Romandy. Is it me, or am I just mostly disappointed that I feel like Remco Evenepoel is just not that competitive in 1 week races in World Tour when he actually should be?
Remco should be almost the hardest to beat in 1 week races. Because they normally, like a Tirreno has a TT and then like a 20-minute Unipuerto that's on not that steep a gradient.
Are we neglecting his winter injury as a potential cause for that?
We can, but he hasn't. Let me see. He's the best time trial rider maybe in history.
Yeah.
And his last World Tour win, I know I'm cherry picking, but his last World Tour 1 week win in Europe was Poland in 2020. He won UAE in 23.
Yeah.
I guess surprising.
That's true. And he won that because of echelons mostly, because on the actual mountain stage, he got smashed by Yates, right?
Yes, Yates put 10 seconds into him, but he was riding 4GC, so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different when you're riding to defend GC, which he did admirably. But I think Remco just can't be in the top 5.
Yeah, I have issues with putting him up there as well. And Lipovic is then a name that isn't in the top 5 for me, which is 3rd at Tour de France, 3rd at Dauphiné, 2nd at Paris-Nice, 4th at Etzulia. It's obviously that Tour de France podium that smashed it out of the park, but for me it's more the consistency throughout the year that puts Lipovic there. But he's also the kind of rider where if he continues this portrayal over the years and keeps this consistency and starts maybe competing for the actual victory in a 1 week race instead of getting 2nd, getting 3rd, getting 4th, if he can actually take those home, then he could make an argument for getting a podium spot in the future in this category. Oppositely, I think Roglic has fallen out of that podium ambitions at the moment, but is it me or are people underrating Roglic suddenly? I feel like people are pretending he's completely washed up, while I still think he has the qualities to win 1 week races in World Tour, and he can, in my opinion, podium a Grand Tour with the perfect preparation.
Yeah, he was leading the Giro this year, for the first week. He gave the jersey away on stage 8 to Ulisi, so he was in complete control in the Giro for the first week. Then he crashed, and that seemed to be it. He had to abandon. But in terms of return, an 8th in the Tour and Catalunya, how do I weigh that against Lipovic? I think Lipovic, the top 5 for me is Simon Yates and Lipovic for 4th is tricky. You value one huge win at the Giro versus consistency, and Lipovic's consistency where he lost. Paris-Nice to Jorgensen, where the Visma team made the gap on the crosswind stage. Dauphiné, he's behind Pog and Jonas. Tour, he's behind Pog and Jonas.
Yeah.
I still have Yates ahead because Lipovic didn't win anything, right?
Yes, that's correct. Now, on my list, I also had the results of Ayuso winning Tirreno, Volta Catalunya, but at the end of the day, not competitive for top 5 in my opinion because of the fact that in Grand Tours, DNF'd at the Giro and 68th at La Vuelta because he ended up going for breakaway stages. If he ends up fighting for Grand Tours or more 1 week races next year, then he becomes a candidate for this top 5 potential podium in the future. But are there names that we're not mentioning here that you wouldn't be shocked if within the next 2 years they show up in the top 5 and or podium?
Sex ass.
I'm glad you pronounce it correctly these days.
Who else?
That's also the name that comes into mind for me.
Yeah, that's the main one, right?
Because, I don't have that same feeling with Jarno Widar.
Or Pellizzari.
Yeah, Pellizzari
would you expect Pellizzari to be stepping up to then Lippo level next year, or sort of stay roughly where he is?
I think it's not impossible for Pellizzari to move up to Lippo level, but I have not seen it to potentially already happen next year. And especially within the space that is Bora Hansgrohe next year. Remco, Lipovic, Hansgrohe next year. Remco, Lipovic, Roglic, and I hadn't even thought about the fact that Pellizzari's also there.
Yeah. Finn. But he's
Lorenzo
keeping him in
Finn,
U23 for a year.
He can go ride the Sibiu Tour a little bit first.
Yeah, I think Seychelles is the obvious one. Whether there could be someone that there's always someone that surprises, but yeah, my final top 5 for GC riders,
Del Toro.
best GC riders this year.
I think Del Toro could make an argument for a top 5 position. That was a risky one. If we missed that one,
I wasn't even doing a bit. I wasn't even doing a bit. I was just trusting your notes.
Well, don't put this on me. You can't just blindly follow my notes. I made these this morning at like 6.
No, I have Yates and Lipovic still ahead of him.
Me too, but I'm argumenting that next year he could be in the top 5 easily.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There we go.
So that's best GC riders. Del Toro and Seychelles are knocking at the door next year. I thought not Ayuso on Trek, change of environment.
For me, he's on the list as potential top 5. I don't expect him to jump into the top 3 tomorrow. Well, probably not tomorrow, but don't expect that the next year either. I do hope to see him fight for Grand Tour podiums next year.
Remco is the rider that can go from out of the top 5 to back into the top 3, which he might have been after last year.
He was for me, I think, third last year.
Best sprinter. This is maybe a contentious one. This is my favorite one to do. We have 3 big sprinters. Then we have some other sprinters winning a lot as well. I think I sit firmly in one camp. I think sprinting is also eye test a little bit. How good is their lead out? How impressive were some of their sprints? What's the quality of the field where they did win? And I'll let you start with my favorite, Tim Merlier.
With your favorite? Okay, Tim Merlier. To be honest, when I started listing his victories for this year, I ended up cutting out the Belgian ChatGPT races. There's 3 more of them, but the most important results that I would think of are starting out the season in Alula Tour, getting 2 stage wins there, going to the UAE Tour, getting 2 stage wins there, going to Paris, getting 2 stage wins there, to the Balwaza Belgium Tour, getting 2 stage wins there, going to the Tour de France, getting 2 stage wins there, going to the Nui Tour, getting 2 stage wins there. It's becoming repetitive, and then he ruins it by just getting 1 stage win at the Tour of Holland. This would have been a perfect 2 stage win streak for every stage wins the entire year, and then he ruins it in the Tour of Holland. So that's something I blame Merlier for my mental OCD. But that said, that is such a good record. And it's not just that. If you look closely to every sprint that Merlier rides this year, the ones he doesn't win, the majority of them is him just not being in position in the first place. So the majority of sprints he is in position, he wins, even if Milan is there, you know? You're muted, my friend. Come on. This is your most important moment.
That's
your
the key difference.
Tim Merlier.
Where subjective assessment comes in. When Milan goes to a race, including World Tour races, he has an entire team dedicated to him. So when you look at the Dauphiné, the entire Little Trek plan for the Dauphiné is to win stages with Milan. They will drop back 6 guys if he's dropped to bring him back. They have really strong riders to position him. I've not been impressed by the quick-step lead-outs for Merlier. Who does the Affini, Darnholer, Sodafist setup roll at quick-step? No, setup.
Yeah, it depends on the race,
Casper
I think,
Pedersen?
but there's no clear candidate for that. Because I feel like a lot of the time, Bertela van Lerberge is forced to do all the jobs at the same time, which is unreasonable. And I also would say that Bert van Lerberge gets a lot of credibility for the victories of Tim Merlier. And in a lot of stages, he does do valuable work in positioning Merlier into a competitive position. But it's not like Merlier is put into third position in sprints either. A lot of the victories, for example, one at the Balwaza Tour, he is literally sprinting from 10th position and winning these sprints. So I wouldn't even say the Bert van Lerberge piloting work is perfection in terms of positioning Merlier even when he wins these races. So I fully agree with you. When we look at the lead out between Quickstep, Alpecin, a little Trek. Little Trek gets the whole train for Milan. Philipsen mostly gets the whole train from Alpecin, including Mathieu van der Poel in important races like the Tour de France. And then I look at Quickstep and Tim Merlier, and he has to do a lot himself, even in the last kilometer, moving up by himself. And I feel like he's gotten a lot better at that, because I swear, maybe 3-4 years ago, we had the comments about Merlier that he struggled moving up in certain spaces, that he struggled finding his way through the sprint. And now that feels like it's a sixth sense for the man. And to be honest, we can talk about individual leadouts and the sprinters themselves. I think his track record this year speaks for himself. Yes, he does win the green jersey, but Tim Merlier for me is the best sprinter in the world after this year. And that's partially also because I expected Jonathan Milan to be more versatile than he was.
And that's the point, is that like Milan should not have won the green jersey.
Yeah.
He really and credits to him for it, but he also wasn't that versatile either. He wasn't getting in, he couldn't get in the break, so he was just a pure sprinter as well. I also have Merlier actually much more clearly than last year. I think he is more clearly number one this year. Okay, they have maybe the same number of World Tour wins. Maybe he has one more. He has more total wins, 16 to the 9 of Milan. Also, some of them are not, Scheldeprijs and Brussels Classic are not World Tour, but they're good fields. He did it from January to October, Merlier, winning in Alula in January and in Holland in October. His Tour stage wins were impressive. His Abu Dhabi Breakwater is the best sprint win of the year for anybody. When he was head-to-head with Milan, he beats him in Gent-Wevelgem.
I do think the sprint from Milan on stage 1 of UAE Tour is really impressive as well. True. The uphill sprint, where Merlier dipped out halfway the stage, that's also one that I have as one of the best sprint wins of the year, together with, was it Matthew Brennan that won stage 1 of Volta Catalunya past Tibor Del Grosso?
Yeah, and with Groves in his wheel, if you call that a sprint. But
I call that a sprint.
Yeah. So I think it's Merlier clearly won, Milan 2. I think Philipsen versus Coy.
For me, it's clearly Philipsen. 3 stage wins at La Vuelta, plus wearing the red jersey, winning the first stage at the Tour de France, plus wearing yellow. Probably could have won more than one stage there, but crashed out.
And Kuurne is a big win.
Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. For me, Olaf Koy, I've said this for multiple years. I'm not sure you agree with me on this. For me, Olaf Koy has been on the doorstep of this podium for multiple years, with the door half open and his leg halfway through, but has not completely walked through it, where I was super comfortable that he's fighting with the 3 top best sprinters in the world. For me, the difference is still clear. And yes, Olaf Koy gets 2 Giro victories next to a very impressive Tirreno stage win, probably the most impressive of the 3, I would say. To the Polonia stage win, then a couple of stage wins at Oman and Britain. But Philipsen wins those big races, and he probably could have won more without crashing. He probably could have won the green jersey at the Tour de France. But that's also an if that I'm not even counting.
Yeah, but
when it comes to the difference.
He would have. He would have won it. And I think, Koy got beaten by him head-to-head in Kuurne. He's not winning those. And in the Giro, he would have been looking for three or 4 wins, not 2.
Yeah,
Poland 1, Renewy 1, whereas... So he has,
Is it... To me, it's like, when I see Philipsen going to the Tour de France, I expect him to win a stage at the Tour de France. When I see Koy going to the Tour de France, he's a candidate to win a Tour de France stage. But I have not that feeling of certainty that I have for Philipsen.
Yeah, Visma never took him to the Tour.
Also true.
And that's again, how do you pass? What if you swap the teams of the 2 riders? Same schedule.
I think Philipsen better sprinter, inherently.
Because also he has that classics element where Philipsen is... I think Koy needed to win. If Koy won Plouay and beat him in Kuurne, I think actually then it's inarguable, because then actually he has more World Tour wins. But it's still Philipsen 3. I think Koy is 4. I know that Manier won, 16 races, but he won 12 of them at 0.1 or Guangxi level in the last month.
Yeah.
It's just not the same as Grand Tour wins. He did go to the Giro. It didn't work out. So I think Koi for me is still 4. The 5th spot is tricky, though.
For me, that's Brennan.
You got Brennan over Manier?
I have Brennan over Manier. Yes, Manier is really that second part of the season where he really took Slovakia wins. But to be honest, Slovakia wins don't really funnel my enthusiasm as much as I see Matthew Brennan winning super impressively, going from positions where I thought maybe he's uncompetitive at this point to winning 2 Catalunya stages, 1 Romandy stage, 1 Polonia stage, 2 stage wins NGC at Tour of Norway. That's then, to me, this looks a lot like the Thibaut Nys equivalent of last year for a sprinter for Matthew Brennan. And that's why I've got him both in this list of 5th best sprinter in the world, and also in potentially the biggest revelation of this year, because it's super impressive. And also, he's more versatile than Manier at the moment. Maybe his versatility was a bit overstated at some point this season, where some people were saying that he could win Roubaix, some people were saying that he could beat Alpe d'Huez, some people were saying that he could win on Mont Ventoux. Patrick, who is the guilty person?
Yeah, he could win on that Alpe d'Huez finish on stage 20 if they cut out the first part, and it's just like the plateau bit. Why did they call that the Alpe d'Huez? Call it something different. I think the difference is he has some signature wins, and I don't know, Manier is a pure bunch sprinter still to win so frequently. Like at China, they were still Bittner, Mayus, and he won all those sprints. So as a pure flat bunch sprinter, he might be better, but Brennan beat Groves on Catalunya, one of the most impressive wins of the year. I don't think Manier has that. He also beat Milan twice in Germany, where Trek wanted to get results. So I think that's the difference.
Manier started what Brennan did this year 3-4 months later.
Yeah.
And because of that, he hasn't reached that volume of that level of wins for me. And for me, the top 5 is clear. It's Merlier, Jonathan Milan, Jasper Philipsen, Olaf Kooi, Matthew Brennan, and Manier is the rider that I expect to join this top 5 at some point in the next 5 years. And can I be honest? I kind of feel like Olaf Kooi might be the rider that falls out of this top 5. Or do you see Jasper Philipsen dropping out, considering some of his lead out diminished?
He's still got Rickard, still got Van der Poel, still got
Plancard.
I think he's okay. I think Groves, it'll be thin.
Right now, Groves is not even in our top 5. He's also on the brink, I would say.
Groves has won 10 Grand Tour stages in 3 years.
Yep.
So
he's also top 7, if I just think about it like this.
Yeah. So who do we think could become I mean, Brennan and Manier both could go into the top 3, I think. They could get ahead of Philipsen. I think that's pretty realistic, both of those 2 sprinters.
Is there like a random sprinter that you think of that could enter this that we haven't even spoken about?
Because Manier was kind of obvious. Quickstep and the French scouts were always saying that he's a special one.
What's the Luxembourg dude on Lotto?
Kochelman.
Do you see that as a potential in 3 years to show up in this?
I don't think so.
Or Daniel Skerl on Bahrain?
De Schroedner.
One of those names that he's still super young, but I feel like he's been around for decades.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Dali, you don't count?
Wouldn't shock me if he's in this top 5. Binyam dropped out of the top 5, that's for sure, but we expected that, eh?
Yeah.
Last year, we said that would happen.
Okay. That's our top 5 sprinters. I think we both agree. Where are the puncheurs?
I think the puncheurs they're not dead, but they're not where they used to be. Remember the days where I'm not sure you remember the days, but Philippe Gilbert, Andy Schleck, Frank Schleck, the Ardennes weekend. I vividly remember going on a Ardennes trip with school and being forced to give our phones into a box for that week because it was an off internet week. Horrible situation, because that was the week where the Ardennes were ridden between Philippe Gilbert and Andy Schleck and Frank Schleck. And I had to wait until the end of the trip to figure out whether Gilbert could beat those two guys or not. Horrible
When did you first get a
situation.
smartphone?
I don't know. I had one of those like Nokia bricks as a kid, and then one of those like LG, not flip phones, but one of those like
Twist?
I'm trying to not twist, but like pull out phones,
Okay.
expand phones.
I think I first got a smartphone first year of university.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why? Of course, they were not invented before you went to university.
No.
My 50-year-old man.
I just was like, I don't need one of them. I'm good.
You have such a weird history, man. Every time I talk to you, something new pops out of like your past. We're like, oh, I did cricket in London, and then I lived in that area, and then I spent 17 years going to Berghain in Germany, and
no American television allowed.
Okay, was that a part of the religious side?
Not sure I'm not sure what religion that. I don't think that's a religious thing. It's just BBC is on top.
Did you not realize that Jesus Christ said that the BBC is the go-to news channel?
I mean, I do love the BBC. Like whatever their little murder mysteries. I love a BBC murder mystery. Anyway,
oh god,
the Puncheurs don't exist anymore. You have like, is Ben Healy a puncher? I guess. Like he's a specialist. Quinn Simmons.
Technically, they are punchers. Benoit Cosnefroy is definitely a puncher. But I don't believe the races that were in the past set to be puncher races like Flèche Wallonne, Amstel Gold Race. They're not exactly won by the punchers anymore. They're now won by GC riders, and that's what we're talking about, right? GC riders are cannibalizing on the punchers because GC riders have become more versatile.
Apart from Skelmoser, basically the two best Hilly one-day riders in the world are Pog and then Remco. And there's a big gap from Pog, and then from Remco, there's also a big gap to third. And yeah, you have, as Luke says, Vauquelin, Gregoire, Stevie Williams won Flèche. That's like a throwback victory.
Yeah.
They're like the true puncheurs. Louis Barret, these are... But how do you rank them when none of them win anything?
Have the punchers become baroudeurs because the GC riders have cannibalized on the usual puncher finishes? Because this brings us to the next category. By the way,
Mur de Bretagne. It's not just the one days.
True. Like, I remember Virmos winning on Mur de Bretagne. Daniel Martin maybe as well, but I could be completely imagining that thing. Nonetheless, I completely ignored classics as a category in this whole thing, but is that a similar story? Not entirely, I think.
Classics is different because then we'd go through the whole awards show without talking about Mads Pedersen. So we're going to do this category completely subjectively. No, you can't open PCS.
I'm too lazy to open anything after making all these notes and forgetting about classics.
We're doing cobble classics or just big one-day races?
Big one-day races is Pogacar. Otherwise, it's Mathieu van der Poel. That's it. End of discussion.
Why is Mathieu van der Poel a better cobble classics rider than Pogacar? He's not.
Fuck's sake. Good argument.
It's just because that's his specialty, so you want to give it to him, but is he actually better?
Is Van der Poel closer at RVV to Pogacar than Pogacar is to Van der Poel on Roubaix? Whoa. I wasn't even thinking about Omloop. Because Omloop for me is...
I think Pog is closer to Van der Poel in Roubaix, yes.
But outside of those two top-level cobble classics, Van der Poel is, in my opinion, better on all the others. But then do you count Strade Bianche?
Yeah. And this is not really including difficult. This is not including Liège, because there it's obvious is not including Worlds or even Canada. But
I'm giving this to Mads Pedersen out of I'm doing a hunger strike.
I think it's Pog. I think E3. Who would you take? You can build your roster. You can build the Avengers roster around them. Would you to win E3? Who would you rather, Van der Poel or Pog?
do not get me started about E3, because in the last couple of days, I saw an article in Belgian media that they're making the parkour harder next year. We're going to in depthly in the weekly show,
Let's
but
do the Tour of Flanders before the Tour of Flanders.
that's
Stop.
exactly what I feel like.
Stop.
So
That's why classics riders almost don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I have to give it to Van der Poel for the sole reason that otherwise Pogacar takes most of her categories.
And he just has the sprint. So just in a 4-hour, 5-hour race, if they
What's
come
MSR?
together. Yeah,
Is that a Cobble
MSR is a big classic. Yeah, then Van der Poel Pog can't beat him because of the sprint factor. Okay, you've convinced
I
me.
agree with you that if I look at the results and think about it, then I'd say Pogacar might actually be the best cobble rider in the world. But that is also mostly because those races like RVV have so much climbing in them.
Yeah.
I do not believe for a second that if Pogacar didn't crash at Roubaix, that Pogacar would have won Roubaix.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you there. I
And
think
Roubaix is more important because it's a better classic than RVV.
yeah, maybe third. I think you have to give it to Pedersen, and it's inarguable. He was the third best classics rider this year. I mean, Van Weverhem's 60k solo. Well, actually, I think it was an 80k solo because no one pulled with him, but then he dropped everybody at 60k's to go. So, yeah, Pedersen third. Fourth, Van Aert.
Mate. Paulus. I'll give it to Paulus. Just for dwarves.
Just for Dwarves. Fifth best classics rider of the year.
Mate, I know. I have not fought this. I don't remember at all who came for fifth at
Because
the
it's
Cobble Classics.
what is happening is
Ghana? What do we do with Ghana?
he was really good in the MSR, but then Roubaix didn't go well. Where's he?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in 6 months, I swear.
Ghana.
Yeah.
He won a Vuelta stage, my friend. Yes. Maybe, yes. He won a time trial at the Vuelta.
The problem is with the classics, when a solo winner, there's a solo winner in Van Wevelgem, and then it's like the sprinter sprinting the second or third. Was the sprinter that comes second, the second best classics rider that day? Maybe, maybe not. I would give it to... Fuck, I don't know. I actually don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah, I also don't care, to be honest.
Anyway, let's go toward our next category. And we spoke about Puncheurs being cannibalized and venturing off to a new set of boxes. And that box is called Best Barrier that we're going to mention. And there's a couple of...
Kung is my fifth.
Okay. I didn't see that coming because in my head, Kung had a bad year, but on Roubaix,
He
he had a
wasn't
good...
bad in the classics.
You're right. But about Best Barrier, my list of 7 riders that came to mind when I spent 1 minute on this category this morning: Ben Healy, Quinn Simmons, Temin Arensman, Rory Townsend, Storm Ingebrigtsen, your favorite rider, Victor Verkooi, who was the rider with the most kilometers in the breakaway this year, but didn't achieve much from it, if I recall correctly, but still an element. And Bruno Armirail, the second most kilometers in the breakaway this year. But I don't count those last 2 riders because for me, you need to achieve a big victory through a breakaway. And Ingebrigtsen is the guy that was in the breakaway in stage 1 of the Tour of Norway and ended up winning from the breakaway. And for some reason, that victory is in my head.
It is the prototypical Scandinavian continental rider victory.
Yes.
So like the prototype Scandinavian Conti rider, they're doing 1,000 hours a year. They're very aero because they ride into headwind 80% of their training hours because they're still living in the flat on Scandinavia.
Mate,
so they're very aero.
They ride in headwind so much that it literally scoped their face.
Yeah, they become aero. They're maybe not so good at positioning, but they get into a break. The break is then about to be caught, and then they attack out of the break, Alex Sagart style, about 3Ks to go. That is the Conti Scandi way to go, and it works a lot.
Yes, that's a fact. But I have a hard time selecting a winner here because Healy won a breakaway stage at the
To me, it's Healy.
at the Tour de France, plus taking the yellow jersey. Quinn Simmons didn't get that victory out of the breakaway stage at Grand Tours, if I recall. Arensman got a stage from the breakaway, but the other victory was from the peloton.
Aronson one's too climby.
Is it weird that I would literally put Rory Townsend second because of the value that he brought to his team out of it? Out of his victory at BMSI Classics?
World Tour one-day classic, yeah, it paid off for him.
But Healy is the winner, you're right.
Healy, I mean, the way he rode both the day he won and the day he took yellow, so strong. I think, yeah, Healy's the best. I mean, it's funny to call a Barradur a 61-kilo guy.
Well, that's because the world has changed, my friend.
The world is changing all around us. And yeah, Simmons is my second. I think he's still missing that big breakthrough win. He did win in Catalunya, where he attacked, I think, just before the sprint on the 25k stage because there was high winds in Berger. By the way, Berger, thanks for the road closure last night. Cost me another half an hour to get home. I'm not feeling too sharp today.
Who's Berger?
It's like a town between Andorra and Barcelona. It's where Simmons won and did the Pistols celebration.
You could eat a burger. Okay, I'm sorry.
Armin Rail, good in the breakaways, didn't win anything either. It's again hard to, but I think Healy wins this award. Best barrel. He has to win something too.
I'll let you dissect the next award, Best Domestique, my friend.
It's my favorite one because you can't pick out their own results. I'll throw in some names at you. Harry Sweeney.
Okay.
Speaking about Ben Healy, who was the guy in the Tour de France doing the tug buddy action in those breakaways? Harry Sweeney.
Fair.
Who positioned Ben Healy into the base of Redoute first wheel in Liège? Harry Sweeney. So he was very, very good this year. You've got Narvaez Wellens, the obvious ones from UAE.
I put Ricard on here for the sole stage that I remember. It's weird, but his category Best Domestique, I think of moments
where they led to a win.
Where they led to something, like Ricard being with Van der Poel in that crazy breakaway together, where Ricard offered himself up for a potential chance of Van der Poel making it to the line. Campenaerts being in satellite rider breakaways on, what was it, Mont Ventoux and such, the strongest, in my opinion, Domestique in terms of versus his expected level at the Tour de France for the team of Visma Leasebike. Barguil and Frank van den Broek in the final week of the Tour de France, being there for Oscar Ronley. Dillian Gebrek-Zabir pulling in the peloton for their sprinter to potentially have a chance of winning. I find it very difficult to say this is the best Domestique across the season. But I just remember these moments, you know?
Lucas Ericsson, satellite rider and Tour of the Alps for Stora to win the jersey. But it was really important in the Valley. It killed Arensman, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many. And then there's of course the guys doing the dirty work like Domen Novak controlling.
Yeah.
Or Pollard in the Tour de France. Or Dylan Van Baarle in the Vuelta. I think the best Domestique this year is Wellens. I think Wellens made the most impact on winning the biggest races, the Tour de France and the Dauphiné. And what he did, even when it didn't lead to a win because Pog didn't finish it off, Wellens was the one that put it in position to win. The other teammates didn't. I look at stage 1, crosswinds, right-hand turn. Who brings Pog into that corner in good position? Wellens. Not Narvaez, not Pollitt, it's Wellens.
And at MSR, he was the guy that was trying to guide Pollitt through the copy back to the front every single time when Pollitt lost the front, right? That was Wellens, right?
Maybe. I can't remember.
I think it was. So he's not even domestiquing. He's also mentally supporting Pollitt in his guide to try and position before the copies even start. But is it unfair that we don't mention Wout van Aert after his crazy domestique were on the one stage in the Giro, but then at the Tour de France, to me...
And lead-outs for Kooi.
But then at the Tour de France, for me, not necessarily what I expected, or I didn't expect as much anyway, to be honest, when it comes to Wout van Aert at the Tour de France in terms of domestique work, but his own victory was his best performance of that Tour de France.
Yes. And whereas Wellens was like impacting the race for Pog every day directly, I'd say Jorgensen did more work for Vingegaard across Tour and Vuelta. Like Jorgensen was the one who launched the surprise attack on Valdes Carrai for Vingegaard on stage 9 of the Vuelta, where Almeida was surprised. Jorgensen would pick up some of the... I think Jorgensen and Campenaerts, because Jorgensen's thought of as a leader, is probably you're going to more likely give it to Campenaerts. I think Campenaerts, he was very, very good this year
I think it's
as a domestique.
Jorgensen's sickness impacts how I see his second week of the Tour. Maybe that's a bit unfair, but therefore Campenaerts is more in my memory as the domestique that stood out for Visma in that race. But I agree that I would also give it to UAE Domestique, and Narvaez and Wellens are the two names that pop up when I say that, and I think it's fair to give them Wellens that
I'm
that
giving
award,
it to Wellens,
to be honest. But
best lead out man. We don't have to do a top 5, but just I want them to get some recognition.
This year it's kind of hard to give it to Mathieu van der Poel.
No, I wouldn't give it to him.
So, and I don't really feel like I necessarily want to give it to Consonni either.
Definitely not.
That reaction. Is there an argument to be made that the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe leadouts that are willing to take yellow cards every single second of the week to bring their sprinter to the front are doing the best leadout work? I don't want to give it to them.
It's even hard to give it to Plancart because he cost Philipsen a Vuelta stage.
Yes.
Despite otherwise doing really good work the rest of the year.
Is there a fourth last man or something we can think of that plays just as
important
unbiased role?
I actually think it's a Feeney.
Was there one stage at the Giro where we thought he made a mistake, something Plancart style? I don't remember exactly, but I feel like there was one moment.
I can't recall, but
I generally don't know who's the
his
best
Rome
leadout
was Mutant for Coy. I think Affini's pretty good in that setup role.
Are we only thinking about the leadouts of potential top sprinters, while then a UNOX always seems to be setting up decent leadouts?
Yeah. Or maybe Ricard. They've moved Ricard into the setup role, and he never makes a mistake.
I think I kind of want to give it to Ricard.
Yeah.
Even if it's not just for solely this year, more as a lifetime achievement leadout award. That makes sense?
I think so. I can get on board with that. So, there was no real last man who led out 12 different wins this year, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, I'll give it to him.
I don't think so either. Now, I want to bring it to a category I enjoy going through, which is best race of the year. And races that came to mind when I made this category are Milano-Sanremo, which was opened up on the Cipressa by Pogacar. Then we had a 3-man battle between Pogacar, Van der Poel, and Ganna yo-yoing off the back every now and then. RVV, despite us believing that Pogacar would clean that, it took maybe a little bit longer for Pogacar to drop Van der Poel than I initially thought it would. So there was more tension for me to do that. I watched it in the sun in Mallorca, so maybe the vibe that put this race on here. But that's one of the races I thought of. Amstel Gold Race. Pogacar being off the front, being attacked. Well, Alaphilippe attacking, then dropping off the back of Pogacar. Pogacar being gone. Remco and Skelmose. Skelmose leaning on Remco, getting back to the front. Skelmose ends up winning the sprint against the two big riders on paper. Big race. That was a really good race. Tour de France stage 21 there's an argument to be made that was one of the better races of the Tour de France. The Strade Bianche stage of the Giro comes to mind at the moment. Also, Tour of the Alps stage 4, the one you mentioned with Lucas Eriksson is on this
Tour
list
of the
for
Alps
me.
is really good.
I think that might be a top 3 stage of the year for me. But for me, the only stage in this entire year where I watched the race, and after the race finished, I looked at my wall for 10 minutes straight before we did the podcast thinking, holy shit, what just happened? That is the Giro d'Italia stage 20. That is a stage that will stay in my mind for the rest of my life.
I agree that's what the organizers are looking for when they put that profile, that parcours in the race. They are hoping something mythical happens that will be spoken about 10 years from now. I'm not sure how many Queen stages on stage 20 we've covered on the pod, in 6 seasons where 3 different guys can win GC, maybe 4, but 3 different guys can win GC on that day, going into the final climb, and then it actually happens where each one could have won GC, is the best stage of the year, the best stage I've watched in a long time. I got a bit of Grenon vibes from it. It's not the tour, but it was those sort of vibes, like, holy fuck, is this really happening? That doesn't mean the rest of the Giro was fantastic. For
me,
there were some good stages. I think it was the best Grand Tour this year.
I just select this individual stage. I don't care about the rest of the Giro for this award. I called it best race of the year, but for me, one stage is allowed to be a race for the sake of this argument. So if you have another stage you think of that you want to shout out, you're welcome to do so. Maybe the stage 21 of the Vuelta.
I definitely, Vuelta was the worst race of the year, that's for sure. I think the Giro stage 20 best stage of the year, although I'd be keen to hear what people think would be competitors for that. I'm looking through some other races now where I remember them being like particularly good. Obviously you're biased because the most recent races you'll remember more clearly.
Yeah.
Like Classic High-End was very good. So Classic High-End was Del Toro was cooking. Visma had Van Aert and Tullet like not knowing what to do. There was attacks. Decathlon were good. And then Kwiatkowski beat Del Toro or like rode away. I thought Classic High-End was very, very good. What else?
I generally couldn't tell you.
I remember the Czech Tour with Le Cerf saving GC. It was kind of...
This is not on the same level, bro. We're not talking about a gigantic Westworld Season 1 style plot twist on stage 20 of the Giro and then mentioning Le Cerf saving someone's GC in the Giro and then the fucking Czech Tour. I'm not having this shit.
Paris Tour was a very good race. 6 different guys could win it going into the final 15Ks. I enjoyed that a lot. Denain was pretty good. I would say that Brennan stage in Catalonia was also a what the fuck. Watching that stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, Benji wants me to go to the bigger races. I know. I think for me it's Tour of Flanders.
Really?
Yeah. Because Van der Poel crashed. Because Pog didn't have good position going into the qualm. No, because if they just went to the...
fantastic because much of Van der Poel hit the ground is what I just heard.
If nothing happened and then they just ride around and then they just go to the second Quarmont and then Pog... Like in 23, Pog dropped everybody on the second Quarmont, right?
Yeah.
So then it's done.
Yeah.
Already. I know they came back, but then it's done.
And then the sickness of Mathieu van der Poel leading up to the race as well as an extra element. Then again, it is the underdog that is crashing in the situation. The underdog that is sick in the run-up to the race. I think the race would have been even more legendary if Pogacar was the one that was sick in the run into others at the race and had an early crash in the race and still won the race. That would have cemented that victory even more, you know?
Yes. I think RVV would have gone to Giro stage 20 level if Van Aert or Sturven snuck away and won.
Yeah.
And Pog and Van der Poel, but that didn't happen. But it was still a good. San Remo I always enjoy. San Remo I look forward to as a fantastic race. Amstel, it was good in the end, but it was a long time just like 2 groups chasing each other. You know what I mean? Like, so
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Breakthrough of the year is the next category, and this is a bit of a difficult one because I feel like some riders broke through out of a position where they were relatively unknown to the mainstream public.
You don't have a rider on here.
But I made this list 30 seconds before we started the podcast. Well, sorry, 30 seconds before we were supposed to start the podcast, but somebody forgot that we were recording a podcast at this hour.
No.
So
I thought it was at 1.
Oh, it wasn't that one.
The clock's changed.
It changed a week ago.
And also they changed an hour, not half an hour. So
you're arguing against yourself now. Either way, I don't even know which name you mean. That's the worst part.
Scaroni, dude.
Man, I'm not having this shit.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You're right. You're right.
He followed Ayuso in Laguelia and won a Giro stage, and he has 3,000 UCI points.
Yep. My list
Doesn't
so
matter that
far
he's 28.
was Matthew Brennan's on the list. Oscar Onley's on the list because he had a secondary breakthrough, I would categorize it as. Kind of counts the same when it comes to Vokalin from breaking through from potential breakaway stage winner to top 10 GC at the Tour de France rider. Same feeling when it comes to Johannesson. The weird thing is, Del Toro broke out last year, and I feel like he broke through again. Like, it's that secondary breakthrough, but I don't value the secondary breakthrough as much as I value a full-on breakthrough from relatively unknown to being known amongst the mainstream public, which then a Brennan categorizes at. How would you consider the breakthrough differential between Brennan and Seixas? Very difficult to compare.
They're just different because they're different categories. I think they're similar. They're quite similar in level. It's a breakthrough.
I think Seixas is better.
At what?
At winning on mountains.
Hasn't won a race.
Mate, you're the one that says Brennan can win on Alduez, my friend. So I'm not having this shit.
Both of them, to me, can Brennan become the best classics rider in the world in 5 years? Yeah.
I'm not sure I feel as... I don't think so.
I mean,
I think he can be the best versatile sprinter within 1.5 years.
Yeah. And can Seixas be the best GC rider in the world in 5 years? Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess it's quite similar. They're just quite different riders. Seixas was more hyped because of the GC French part. He was more hyped. So maybe with Brennan, it was more surprising, the breakthrough.
Is the reason that Seixas is more hyped also not the reality that sprinters are seen as less valuable in awards than potential GC riders?
Nah, I think it's more just French, and also he was better as a junior than Brennan.
If you have to spend 2 million on one of these two riders, would it be Brennan or Seixas today? It would always be Seixas.
Yeah, that's just the commercial reality of the sport, is that if Seixas is the next French Tour de France winner, it's just a license to print money. So
that's a good fucking take.
Like, he's going to be a megastar in France, which is the heartbeat of cycling, and the Tour de France, the biggest race in the world. That is the reality of the sport. Is Seixas that guy, though? Is Seixas valuable? That valuable if Pog is going to keep being Pog for another 5 years?
Yeah, but that's an if that we don't know. If my aunt had wheels, she would be a truck.
Yeah, but Brennan can win today.
Yeah, but Seixas can also win today if he rides the Tour of Norway.
They're not going to send him.
No, what I'm trying to say is Seixas is worth the gamble. Because he's the ultimate upcomer right now. But are we being too negligent? Is that a word? Are we neglecting Isaac Del Toro too much in this whole discussion?
No.
Or Mateo Ramirez?
Ramirez,
that's too early.
Too early because he's not doing it. He's more doing it at U23 level at the moment, and we wouldn't normally do this is normally for guys on a World Tour roster. I think Del Toro. Maybe I'm jaded, but with Del Toro and Manier, I'm not like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is kind of sad. It's sad to feel that way, but I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, they were so good already in their first year pro. So, like, Manier won 5 times in his first year professional. So that doesn't mean, they're going to continue going that direction. Whereas Brennan went from 0 to 100. Seixas, it's also sad in the Dauphiné when he's coming like 8th or 7th. I'm also not surprised.
Yeah.
Like, because he did the numbers as a second-year junior, we're like, oh, well, he's already good.
But the reality is also, hypothetically, if Brennan is sent to the Vuelta and wins 2 Vuelta stages instead of, in addition to what he does, then we'd look at this category completely differently than he's the winner. And I think he could have won a Vuelta stage.
Actually, to me, he is the winner, yeah.
I think that's very fair.
That doesn't mean you'd rather have one or the other for the future, but Seixas, when I think breakout, it's really from no hype to bang hype.
Yep, I think that's fair. Because Seixas had the hype. We knew he would. It's unfair to say we knew he would be this, but he was the primary candidate to do this.
Yeah,
you know?
There was a huge amount of hype around him in France. I would say though, this is the change in ranking in the top 100 riders. So from the year before to this year in the UCI points, my boy Scaroni up 178 places from 196 to 18th. So the top 20 rider in the world. That's a breakout. And I don't think people expected that. We have Manier up 140 places into the top 20. Healy up 81 places to 12th. Brennan up 300 places to top 50.
Okay.
Who else? Nicolas Prudhomme's a breakout. That's a breakout.
Yeah.
He won 5 races, didn't he?
Well, Seixas gave him one of them.
Nah, Prudhomme would have beat him.
Yeah, sure.
And
just like Pogacar didn't give Montreal, right?
Tullett up 1,300 places.
Yeah, but he's not in the discussion for me.
There we go. There's our breakout rise. All right, funniest moments of the year.
I had a list here. I had a list of 3. Del Toro and Carapaz fighting at the Giro, with also like the chat on YouTube being Mexico versus Ecuador was hilarious to me.
It's still going. Del Toro is still giving interviews about what happened on Finestra yesterday.
Mate, we can talk about it on the weekly show. I think it's worth discussing.
Yeah, it's still going.
Juan Ayuso at the Vuelta was a funny whole narrative.
Crazy.
From start to finish. Funny and sad in some way.
Yeah.
But the funniest moment has to be, I was watching the race with I was watching the race with an American ex-track champion in Mallorca, sitting on the couch, and we just saw the race, Dwars door Vlaanderen this year, 3 Visma riders leading out Wout van Aert, 2 for 1 rider, and Nelson Paulus beating Wout van Aert in that sprint, and we just jumped up and started laughing. And that's maybe sad towards Wout van Aert, because it was heartbreaking for Wout van Aert, but it happening was so incredibly funny. And sorry, Wout, but you've won a Giro stage and a Tour stage afterwards, so I can laugh like crazy at this. This was easily the funniest moment of the year for me.
It was, yeah. Because maybe there's some other stuff that is like more off the bike funny, I can't recall, but when you think of in the racing to have a 3-on-1 advantage, where also these guys had like Visma had dominated the race. Like Visma had a bad classic season up to that point by their standards, and then Dwars door bang lead out, dominating the race, and then letting Paulus roll them in the sprint. Yeah, it was.
It was like the morale was starting to go up towards the end of the race, and then it hit, and it went to the lowest it had been the entire classic season.
So, and also, Paulus, like, he couldn't believe it. Sort of more slapstick funny, I think. I forgot to say, one of the best races of the year was San Sebastian. I thought San Sebastian was really good with Ciccone.
Meh. It was a solid race.
You don't think? With Del Toro and Kristen? And I would say young Kristen just in general, pretty funny across the year.
I agree.
I think that was a good race. But yeah, Dwars door has to win the award. But another really funny thing was in Burgos, Del Toro crashed Ciccone after Ciccone dropped him in San Seb on stage 1 when they were sprinting. Del Toro somehow got back up, finished on the same time as everybody because they were at the front, and I don't know what the timing was doing. They put Ciccone on a gap because his bike was cooked, and then Ciccone dropped him on Lagunas de Naya but couldn't win GC because Del Toro crashed him. And it was an uphill, it was like very slightly uphill sprint, so there was no 3K rule. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, I remember that too. But for me, it is Dwars of Lantaren.
Yeah, Dwars
But,
wins this one.
Okay. Mareshko retired is my last sentence in my notes, like we said.
Mareshko retired. Worst race of the year.
We said it, the Vuelta.
Yep. Okay, let's do some forward thinking though. Who do you think will be? I like to break. Who do you think will be the breakout rider next year?
Ooh. I feel like for that we need to look at
Because Pablo
riders that
Torres.
have either.
I want to see something in September, October from a Neo Pro. A little bit.
Yeah. You're gonna have to give me a second here because my brain is fried. It's off season.
Yeah, me too. Like, do you expect Kevin Vermarker to break out next year on UAE?
Breakout is a big word. I expect him to be a solid domestique.
Okay.
That's how I'd classify it as. I wouldn't expect him to start winning Oh my god.
Who else we got?
I'm opening these transfer pages and I'm like, do I expect Lorenzo Finn? No, because he's still riding U23 for another year, right?
Oh, I got the answer. I got it already.
Who's your answer?
Albert Philipson. It's like a basic bitch answer, but it's...
I think that's a good call, to be honest.
Yeah. He's like all round Paris Tour third. He's showing that he's up there with the big guns in Paris Tour, you know, with Laporte and Trentin, and he's fast, he can sprint, which means he can win races. I think it's Philipson. If you just put that mountain bike away, enough of that nonsense. Let's focus on the road next year.
I'm looking at these transfers of like literally every team at the moment. Then
Soderqvist? I think Philipson's more likely than Soderqvist.
I think Soderqvist is a good name to mention though, because I do think he's going to be in that discussion for Breakthrough of the Year next year. Because I feel like, what do we feel about a rider like, what if Wozzeck steps up to being competitive in Cobble Classics? That's a secondary breakthrough, but he's already, well, competitive I wouldn't say, but he is already mentioned in Cobble Classics, which to be like the winner of that category, I don't feel like you should already be the mentioned rider. Do we feel like Jan Christen is already a mainstream name in that sense?
He's not a mainstream name, but like, do you also expect him to be podiuming in Liège or Flesh?
No.
Or winning 8
Flesh
races?
is not impossible, but
Flesh possible.
I'm not feeling that same thing for LBL. And I'm also not necessarily feeling like I'm expecting a Perikas to do the exact same thing or something, like
or Torres
to break out. So when it comes to UAE, I don't have that immediate, okay, this guy's going to have that.
Oh, I'd be Ramirez. If you had to pick from their young climbers, the next one, you'd pick Ramirez over Perikas and Torres.
Yeah, but that's then a U23 rider, so I wasn't really thinking about that potentially.
Sure, he's not on the world team next year.
When it comes to Visma Trans, yes, I expect Narmire to potentially win a Grand Tour stage. I don't expect him to be a breakout rider because that's not, well, it's not impossible to break out at the age of 31.
I'll say Kielich.
You still have a future, my friend.
Kielich.
I expect Kielich to be a cobble factor for Visma. I have a hard time seeing him as the breakthrough rider of the year.
No, yeah, then it's got to be like a Philipson level talent who's, yeah. That's
Is
my
it
pick.
because of the fact that we...
Oh, I got it. Raúl Garcia Pierna.
Fuck off. I'm not having this shit. I'm literally not having this shit. Matthias Kopecki.
Look how fast Lascano could climb in 2024 in the Dauphiné, Benji.
Mate, no. I'm also not necessarily feeling Matthias Kopecki, but that's like a name where I...
Nah, but that's just our niche. That's our niche. Yeah, like...
Exactly.
We think he can top 5 Kerner like Hofstadter, you know?
Yeah. Jakob Ommerzel. It's like those kind of riders where you could see them potentially stepping up to
Kian?
fighting in a breakaway stage. Kian, no, I'm not having this discussion.
Why not?
Because he already topped 10 the Grand Tour. Are you saying that he got so shit that now he can break out again?
Kinda, yeah. No, seriously, people would be surprised. You go, oh, Kian, like top 5 of the Giro and take the white jersey. Of course he can do that. He was on track to do that this year, maybe. Or the year before. So
who's that French guy on Tudor?
Rondell? Voisard?
How's he doing?
He's Swiss.
Rondell. Nah.
Michael Storer kind of had a breakout this year.
Okay, well, he's
He
going insane.
did. He won a Pyrenees stage.
Thanks for watching, listening, everybody. I appreciate your time.
No, he did.
We are doing a weekly show early next week, and I'm afraid that's the end of today's podcast. Ciao.
Michael Storer won a Pyrenees stage, third in La Guelia, fifth in Pyrenees, won Tour of the Alps with a stage, top 10 the Giro, then did the Tour. He was in the break every day, just didn't work out. Then he podiumed the Monument. That's a breakout.
I'm happy for you.
I'm happy for Michael Storer and his bank account. Hope he signed that extension afterwards, after all that. You just hate. Where's the Belgian breakouts? What happened to Rune Herholz? What happened to Florian Vermeersch? He's having
Where's
to do
the Belgian breakouts? Mate, are we going to compare Australia to Belgium in the sport of cycling at the moment?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Remco Evenepoel exists. He's better than all your riders combined.
What did he win?
World Championships time trial.
Okay, it's a different sport.
What do you mean it's a different sport? It's literally road cycling.
It's not literally road cycling. It's TT cycling.
What surface do they cycle on? What do you call the thing they cycle on?
It was some cobbles.
Ay.
Would you take Storer's season or Remco's?
What do you mean would you take Storer's season over Remco's?
Just on results.
Remco's.
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys, but this is the end of today's podcast again.
Oh, wow. Remco won a lot more.
Can we please do the outro? You're going insane.
Remco won a lot more than I thought he did this year.
Yeah.
He won a Tour de France stage.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's not looking good for Australia right now. Hey, Kane Groves.
Oh, was actually a good stage win. Thanks to Jake Stewart.
And Ben O'Connor won a stage. Queen stage?
Yes. Do you still think there's a close fight here?
I know you want to leave and you need to leave. I'm ranking the countries. Number one.
No. We should we do an off-season podcast where we do a tier list for every country in cycling? The most controversial podcast we'll ever do.
We'll do that. I will just put France number one. I love the French riders. I'm like, I love the French riders.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Oh, like who's the best? Yeah,
not
per capita of cyclists is obviously Australia.
Okay, I'm going to retire.
Thanks for listening as always. Hope you enjoyed the award show. Let us know your rankings down below. We did a bit more fun and loose this year, and we'll see you at the weekly show, which has a lot of news dropping next Tuesday. Ciao, ciao, ciao.